Hi, first of all, I feel very odd with my hair like this. I'm just practicing some kind of 1940s styles at the minute. Something that I've got coming up. Yeah, I'm also wearing my watermelon loungewear in support of Palestine, I guess, today. Yeah, the world's crazy, isn't it? I thought I'd come on after practicing this mad hair and talk about a story that I found that really was interesting. I'm back to the time slips again, and this one really was quite an interesting story. So we're going to go back now in time to Scotland in the 1970s, early 1970s. Anyway, there was a lady who lived in Scotland in the early 1970s. Her name was Maggie. She had 4 children, and her husband worked day and night to support the family. And there was, as I said, there was 4 kids. And anyway, and she really wanted to get a house on the new housing estate. So the council agreed that she could have one of these houses on the brand new housing estate. But her husband James was working all the time. He never had the time to go and take her in the car to go and see the new housing estate. So she decided to take her kids by the bus. So they all got on the bus, and they had to take like two buses, I think it was. So they took the first bus, and they got off where they were meant to get the other one. And the driver said, yeah, just walk down that lane there. And she walked down the lane. It was quite a rickety old lane. And there was, you know, this place where the bus was stop. And it was a sort of like an old-fashioned rickety bus stop. Anyway, so the bus came. And when the bus came, she was like, oh, that bus looks so old. Like the bus looked like something from the 1940s. You know, as it was driving up, you know, it was like the old stick, you know, type, you know, and this was in the 70s, you know, so it was like sort of like really old-fashioned, you know, gears and stuff, and wooden seats and that. Anyway, so she boarded the bus and got on the bus, and she paid to sit on the bus. Anyway, and she noticed, she asked the driver to take her to the new housing estate. He didn't seem to know where it was, and she was like, oh. Anyway, so she kind of had a rough idea, and she thought, oh, maybe he was a new bus driver or whatever, but she thought he was dressed weirdly as well. Anyway, so she sits on the bus with the kids, and she'd got like a new buggy of the time of the 70s. I think it was like probably one of those, you know, those ones that used to fold up, the stroller types. I think it was one of those. Anyway, so she's this lady, she's sort of like, you know, like a mumsy mum, like from that period, that time period, clothing and hair, that period, is very sort of taken with the buggy, you know, and everyone on the bus is really sort of like looking at this buggy, and their clothes are all really like old fashioned. She's thinking to herself, what on earth? Anyway, so she's sort of got an idea how many stops she should need to get off. So anyway, so he's coming along, she's looking out the window, and everything looks different, like all, you know, the road, the cars, everything is looking different. So she then, the bus stops and she gets off, and she just doesn't know what on earth is going on, because everything's just not where it should be. The housing place isn't where it should be, the housing estate isn't there, and in the end, the kids are so hungry by this time, and so she bustles into this cafe. And then she can't believe it in the cafe. You know, it's really old-fashioned stuff, you know, like, you know, things that they had back then, you know, probably, I would think you'd probably be able to get like a sandwich, but it wouldn't be like the range of sandwiches they had in the 70s even, you know. So anyway, so I think she got some ice buns or something like that she knew, you know, from our time. Anyway, and she sat down and with the kids, and she was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do, you know, how am I going to get home and everything. And am I going to be here forever? Because, you know, the price of the stuff was so cheap as well. And then she looked around, she saw all these women with those, you know, with their hair, like this sort of hair, and they had the, you know, little hats and really smartly dressed, and the men were in suits and all that. And, you know, and she saw sort of military guys sort of walking past the shop window and all like in the 40s style. So she was really starting to get worried. Anyway, so the kids finished up their ice buns, and she finished up her tea, and very cheap tea and ice buns, and they left the cafe. And when they left the cafe, it was so weird. Suddenly everything went back to the 1970s. You know, the things that she knew back then. She's like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so she was absolutely exhausted, and the kids were talking about, you know, what had happened to them as well. And obviously her story was resonating with them. So, you know, it wasn't just her. Anyway, so she then caught a normal bus back to, you know, where she got her original bus, got off, and she went home. And then James, her husband, came home from work. She tries to say to him about it, and he just said, no, I don't believe that, that's impossible. He thought, you know, my wife's gone mad, and you know, she's losing the plot. And anyway, so she just decided, she just thought these sort of things could keep happening. I don't want my family and my kids to have to go through all this. So she said, right, that's it. She said to her husband, James, I do not want to go now to that housing estate, you know, the new housing estate. I don't want a new build. And he just was like, why? You know, he was just, and she thought, because he just, you know, just dismissed what she was saying, and that she didn't really, I don't think she really went into the fact, you know, she just said she wanted to be nearer her sister. So anyway, and they did get rehoused again somewhere else. But what a story. Until, you know, even to this day, Maggie still believes that she, you know, and the kids, they went on a bus in the 1940s, in the 1970s. And that is a time slip. And there's quite a few of these time slips, and they're very interesting. Anyway, that's that. I'm going to practice a bit more on this hair, I think. And I did a bit of makeup 1940s. It's very different, the makeup from the 1940s, because they only used to use like a Max Factor pan stick thing. And they used, they didn't use any stuff what we use today. They just used to use a little bit of cream blush, and they used to put 3 dots. I tried doing it myself. You put a dot there, and a dot there, and then rub it in, and that was it. And with the lipstick, you don't even use a lip liner. You just put the lipstick over, and then you do it like downward strokes. It was quite interesting. I watched like this video of this lady telling these people how to wear their makeup in that time period. But there we are. That's my story for today. And that's it. And hope everyone's okay. The weather's been awful today. And anyway, I'll be back to speak to you all soon. Bye.